It seems to me that there's maybe a misconception that marketing is this soft, immeasurable activity that you just do a lot of it and then eventually it comes back to you. Like you just get the word out. The lack of awareness, whether something actually produced a result or whether it was just kind of a story that got circulated around the company, that worked. We got this big job from that thing we did. We sponsored this event and somebody talked to somebody and we got this big client out of it. And that's good, that's okay. It's not saying that's a bad thing. It's saying it's probably not a replicatable thing. You probably can't count on that. And so the next time you go to do that event or whatever it is and it falls flat, it's kind of a head scratcher, right? Like people will start to question, does anything work? Maybe it's just kind of like shooting in the dark and just hoping to hit something. What we've tried to do is really ask great questions. And typically our process starts with a lot of questions. And sometimes that can feel a little bit overwhelming or frustrating, but in the end, what we're trying to do is connect spend to revenue. And it is kind of the mystery of what happens in between. There are ways that a system can work together if you're thoughtful about how revenue gets deconstructed. Sort of what does it take to get a customer to become a customer? Whatever happened to make them raise their hand and say, I might be interested in what you have to offer. What I would call those moments that happen in the sales process, I would call those decision points conversions. When you can deconstruct that process, it tends to demystify all these jargony things and these marketing tactics and techniques. And it kind of gets it back to the simple buyer journey. There's a predictable path to revenue. And if we can study what it takes, we can make some educated bets. We're basically taking dollars and applying them to the most likely places that a customer is going to make that next decision point to move one step closer to becoming a customer. Where it gets soft and immeasurable is when we're not thinking about the action that the customer is going to take. What is the thing we're asking them to do? So I like to break it down in three ways. What do we want them to know? How do we want them to feel? And what are we asking them to do? So when we break it down like that from the know, feel, and do principle, and we're inspecting the things that are happening in the process, we can make sure that that do part is measurable. Did they take the action or not? And what can we refine about the information we're communicating? Is it the most relevant information for the right decision they need to make? Is it what they really want to know to make the next step? Are they feeling something intentional? Have we inspired confidence? Have we motivated something? Have we created trust? And then have we given them a very specific action to take? Even if it's just to take a click or a call or a download or an email us or whatever that appropriate step might be. The mistake that we see is that all too often we get in a hurry to shortcut that process and we want people to go from first impression to being a customer. And so that call to action is really unreasonable. And so the conversions get really low because you got to do a lot more of it to get somebody to go from I don't know you to I would like to buy from you. It's kind of like, and we use this analogy a lot, is in a dating relationship. I just met you, we go to dinner, and I start asking you to marry me. That will freak some people out. But that's kind of how we behave as marketers all too often, or salespersons all too often, is we expect that people know things that are intuitive to us that they're just not ready for or they're just not comfortable with. And so we're asking them to take an action that's inappropriate for the thing that they know or feel in that early stage of awareness. And so we need to help them. We need to facilitate that buying process with conversions, a micro conversion, a moment we need to create that inspires trust and confidence that this may be the right company for me. and they move one step closer to, this is the right company for me. And eventually, beyond a doubt, this is the best company for me. And when we can do that in a sequence of events and we sort of measure what's happening in there, we can tune that sequence based on feedback, based on data, based on analytics, and have a lot more confidence about how we spend money to do that. The joy that I think we get the privilege to experience with our clients in certain cases is to really understand where they have spent money and where we can quickly start to pay them back, because that's usually coming out of somebody's pocket in the owner's seat. And that's a big risk when you feel like you're trying to create opportunity for your sales staff, or you're trying to create opportunity to grow the business, and it feels like it's dangerous. If it can start to feel like you're putting gas in the tank and the engine can start to run more efficiently, then there's a lot of confidence that we can move with velocity into the next stage of growth. And that is a great win-win. That's where I think it gets fun to work with our clients, when there's this mutual understanding of what we want to happen, and a lot different confidence that there's a method to this marketing. A little bit of the challenge is sometimes when you're too close to it, it's very difficult to really get honest about it. Oftentimes you need somebody to challenge your thinking and see it from a different perspective, to ask a really good question to help you see it like a customer might see it. And in those cases, I think that's a wonderful opportunity to deconstruct or sort of demystify the metrics in marketing. Things that I try to talk to people about in early stages of company growth are tackle the basics. Take care of some of the simple things first before you jump into the deep end of complexity. I look at things like trackable phone numbers as one of the best ways, or maybe one of the first investments to make. And then I would look at a customer relationship management platform of whatever type's appropriate for the industry you're in, is to start letting the data in your customer records tell the story. There's patterns in the data that if you're paying attention, you won't squander the resources just chasing the shiny object or the person that's peddling the next advertisement at you. You'll start to ask better questions about how they know who the audience is, how they know whether they're reaching that audience, and what kind of measurements they can put in place to help you. In some of our client conversations, one of the temptations that shows up when you get a customer that's moving through the buying process, it's the desire to now tell them everything all at once. Is we don't want to leave revenue on the table. We don't want to leave it to chance that they'll know everything we can possibly do. And that's a real concern for many companies, is the regret that the owner feels when they find out that this customer bought from somebody else this other thing we do because they only bought this thing. So now the answer is, let's tell them everything early so we make sure we don't miss our chance to sell everything we do to that one customer. The problem is that it's a distraction. So if they come to you for this thing or this solution to their problem, and all of a sudden you start flooding them with off-ramps to their decision, you just created a cloud of confusion as to why they even came to you in the first place. Now they're not sure and they have to go back into reevaluation mode. Maybe the appropriate thing is to architect the sequence that says, now is an appropriate time to make them aware, because there's an in-between and they're a client or a customer, and we can make them an offer to bundle or to do this other thing with us, because we understand that a customer who buys product A or service A is likely in the next 12 months to need product B. So let's not wait till the end of 12 months. Let's start messaging that in month 3. That at some point you're going to need this, and when you do, we hope you'll consider us. And here's a way that you can engage. Examples like that, I think, are opportunities to create clarity, as opposed to believing that you just need to flood the prospective buyer with more information early. But I haven't experienced it where it just isn't working for some unknown reason and you just can't figure it out. My philosophy is there are people that want to buy what you have to offer. They're out there. If we're not putting ourselves in the right position, if we're not offering the right value proposition, if we're not priced right, if we're not delivering the message well, there's something in there that's leading people to an off-ramp. Unfortunately, I believe we create the friction unintentionally or unknowingly, and then the temptation is to blame. When the reality is the harder work is to self-inspect. It's to look at the things that we do, the choices we make in the messaging and the way that we choose to put ourselves out there and the experiences we create through service delivery that make our own reality. And I just haven't experienced it. In my time, I have not seen where there's this amazing marketing and sales that's happening and customers just won't buy. It can be creative, and if it's creative for creative sake, but it's really not dialed in to the people who are ready to buy from you, then it's incongruent. It's not gonna work. And so it's not that creative is bad or that it's, there is a right creative and a wrong creative. It's that it could just be misaligned to the ideal client who's uniquely looking for you.